What's going on, guys? It's Michael MGF, and today I'll be doing my completely sudden and totally out of nowhere showcase video on my entire Fantastic Four team. I made them. I know you all didn't like the movie. I thought the reviews were kind of exaggerated, and I didn't think it was a total mess, but I still made these minifigures. And why? Well, I mean, Brick Fair ended, and I had the whole month of August to basically do anything, and I was going out of the movie like, okay, maybe I'll just make the Thing, because he was actually pretty awesome, pants or not. And then I was like, a few weeks later, I'm like, you know, maybe actually I'll just make the other three really quick before Force Friday and do a showcase video on the whole team, so that maybe when I look back on 2015, there won't be a gaping hole in the middle of it where I was supposed to make the entire Fantastic Four team and just didn't because Josh Trank, Simon Kinberg, the cast apparently, and Fox were having too big of a tantrum to make a decent movie. So I decided, you know, I'll just make them anyway. So I did. Deal with it. Let's get started. So, Reed Richards, who I wish I could call Mr. Fantastic, or any of them by their superhero names for that matter, but this movie's probably never getting a sequel, so that's probably never gonna happen. Anyway, I can't get this minifigure to stay 100% on the base for my life, so my OCD is basically going to die throughout this segment. Anyway, painting Reed Richards was pretty straightforward. I mean, all of them were pretty straightforward. Finding reference for all of them was not, but getting the likeness to each actor correct is definitely the challenge, and these figures were no exception. Miles Teller here was no exception as Reed Richards, and it probably took me a good 2 hours or so and a couple attempts over the course of a couple of days to get this face right, and just the slightest change with eyebrows, the slightest little bit of black on the top of the eyes, as you can see, the slightest little curve in the mouth, all makes such a huge difference when you're trying to take an actor's face and bring it onto a Lego head, and it can be done. There are a lot of things that you can do to make a minifigure's head look just like an actor. Robert Downey Jr., for instance, Chris Pratt, so many others. Those are just my go-to examples. But yeah, so aside from that though, the Reed Richards suit, which for the plot, it was conveniently exactly the same color and exactly within the same theme as the other two containment suits. But his containment suit was basically just a ton of wires and what he actually calls containment braces in the movie. And you can see all those braces and wires here on the arms for the most part. That's where you see a lot of them. And then you also have them on the legs too, wrapping around all four sides of each leg, by the way, and you can see that the wires actually kind of run through these little, like, I guess, clamps that he has. I painted those on. They're not meant to be symmetrical or anything, because these wires, if you look at the suit, are not symmetrical at all. He has these things. I don't know what the heck they are, but I painted them on, those silver things you see there. And then you can see I also have like this serrated effect right here in the torso, and that's probably one of my favorite effects on this entire minifigure, and he's got the buckle on the front there. But like I mentioned a second ago there, finding reference for these minifigures was not easy, and for these characters was not easy, so painting the back of Reed Richards' torso, it just was a lot, like basically the top here is accurate, but then all of this, like from here and then down, I have no idea. I just painted that on because I looked at the incredibly fuzzy picture that we got from like the first teaser trailer of them all looking up at the black hole, or whatever the heck it was that Doom made in the movie, and I just basically tried to make out what I could see and then paint it onto my minifigure, and that's what you see here. So basically, aside from the face, the rest was just the wires and containment braces and making it look as accurate as I could with the limited amount of reference pictures that I had. And the same goes for the rest of the minifigures, as you'll see in a second there, or second here, words. And also I did use the black sleepy hair, and that was the plan from the start if I was to ever make these minifigures. And you'll also notice that I did not actually use any tiny tactical cuffs or sleeves on Reed Richards or Johnny Storm, and I used them on Sue, you'll see a little bit later, for a specific reason, but I could not use them on Johnny or Reed because I simply didn't have them, and that's why you see I just simply painted their wrists rather than using tiny tactical glove tops or you know, their cuffs, because I didn't have any extra. That my last pair went to Sue. So yeah, there you go, Reed Richards. Johnny Storm, who can't build a car but can build the teleporter, was definitely a more simplistic minifigure, and that's simply because I didn't really paint the face, as you might be able to tell, and that basically came to be because I tried to paint the face, and this was the attempt actually right here, and I'm looking at this and I'm like, you know, this reminds me more of Victor Stone rather than Johnny Storm, and then I was like, oh, Cyborg. Cyborg basically has Michael B. Jordan's face from like the DC sets from the start of the year. So I decapitated my Cyborg and painted hair on his head, and there we had Johnny Storm's head. And I did emphasize like the white on the eyes and the mouth, but yeah, for the most part, I really just painted the hair onto the head, and that did involve me having to brasso off the alternative facial expressions so that his hair didn't have a mouth, basically. And yeah, so the rest of his containment suit, though, after that, as you can see, is just some very basic shapes with just basically all, like, the interior of them outlined in silver dots. And that's all it really was. I mean, you've got, like, these discs back here that I painted, like, little bolts in the center of and all of that. But, I mean, you know, getting reference, though, for Johnny was probably the easiest out of all of them because, for whatever reason, they were just way more angles of his suit than any of the other team members for the Fantastic Four. And I also painted his wrists silver, kind of like the way I painted Reed's black, as you just saw a minute ago there. And I also gave him a couple of fire pieces that I may or may not have stole off of the Joker land. And then also his legs are actually a recreation of the Death Star Trooper legs. If you guys remember some of my custom minifigures that I've done this past year and a half, really, you would know that I've done this before, because honestly, if you guys remember the Death Star Trooper leg design, it's just a really great design for just like general pants and just like leg designs that have no design for, you know, for characters such as like Johnny here, because really his legs are blank, and he doesn't have anything aside from these like pads on the sides of his legs that I mean, they're there, but I didn't want to have nothing, so I did go ahead and do that Death Star Troopers design and painted that on, recreated it by basically just staring at an actual pair from one of those sets, and that's what I did here for Johnny Storm. And yeah, so aside from that, though, that's really it for this minifigure, actually. But it was pretty cool to like actually take the concept of like Franklin's hair from Grand Theft Auto 5 that I did way back when, and bring it over to this minifigure in 2015. I've also got the little like four, I guess like tube things that he has in gold on his chest there to represent the Fantastic Four as sort of like a sneaky little Easter egg. So those are painted on there too. But aside from that, though, yeah, there's Human Torch, or just Johnny Storm. For our final actual minifigure of the showcase video, we've got Susan Storm, the woman of many wigs. So painting this minifigure was actually probably the most complex. I mean, not next, you know, I'm not really including the Thing in that comparison to Reed Richards and Johnny Storm, but painting the likeness for her was definitely the most challenging one out of the three. And I don't know why, to be honest. Like, I mean, I got Reed Richards' face in maybe like 2.5 hours-ish. I ended up with a product that I was satisfied with, but then I painted this face, and I was like, nope. Then I did it again, nope. And then I did it again, nope. And this went on for like a few more days of on and off attempts, and I eventually landed on this. And I was pretty satisfied with this product after thinning out the eyebrows and thinning out the lips. And I thought that I got pretty close to Kate Mara here, so I'm pretty satisfied with the ending result here. And also her hair. Her hair is actually a that was another thing that was a little bit complicated, because I actually had to mix several different colors to get this right. And I'm pretty satisfied with the color. It turned out pretty good for the most part, and it looks pretty solid too, so I'm satisfied with it. And you'll notice that she is using a area-like curved torso like I use for all my female minifigures, and she is also the only one in this showcase video, as I mentioned a little bit ago, to actually have tiny tactical accessories on her wrist there. She has the glove tops, and I decided to give her the glove tops because she needed them, because honestly they just offer such a great transition from like hands to arms, and especially when you've got a character who has short sleeves, it just looks really awesome. And I remember I did something almost exactly like this on, like, for instance, my Sarah Lance Black Canary last year. It's just when you have short sleeve characters and you give them tiny tactical glove tops, it just looks awesome, as you can see. And I would have given, you know, similar accessories to Reed Richards and Johnny Storm, but unfortunately I was out of the cuffs, because I was just going to give them regular like sleeve cuffs and not like the glove tops you see Sue Storm here sporting. But I ran out of those. I think my last pair I used on Johnny Storm, or not Johnny Storm, I don't know why I just said that, on Firestorm from the Flash. So yeah, but definitely the second most challenging part about making Susan Storm here was finding reference. I mean, I keep saying it, but finding reference for her was the hardest out of all of them, because I just don't know why, but I had nothing to go off of with her back. And then on the actual movie poster, her legs were like half invisible, and I'm like, great. So I tried to come up with what I think to be the most accurate design that I could get, and it turned out pretty good for the most part. The front of her torso is accurate, but and then like her thighs I know are accurate. I have no idea from that point down, and then the back of her torso I also have no idea. area. So I just basically decided to wing it and paint on the simplistic designs that you see on the back of her torso and the simplistic designs that you see from her thighs and then down. So yeah, aside from that though, that's really it for Kate Mara as Invisible Woman, or I keep trying to call them by like their actual superhero names. It just doesn't feel right. But yeah, it was a pretty interesting minifigure to make, and I think she turned out pretty awesome. But now let's go ahead and move on to the thing, the only real figure you're probably here for. Alright, so Ben Grimm, The Thing, easily the best part of the movie, and I thought the CGI looked awesome for him. In the trailers and the teasers, he looked like a chicken nugget, but he was an awesome chicken nugget in the movie, and I thought that maybe the voice for Jamie Bell was going to be really screwed up and like maybe too normal sounding, but I thought it was awesome, and I mean, even the punchline that he delivers at the end, a lot of you found it cringeworthy, I'm pretty sure, but I thought it was pretty cool, and so I decided that I would probably, like walking out of the theater, I decided that I was only going to make The Thing because he was the only part of the movie that I actually like pretty much almost 100% enjoyed. But then I realized that obviously I've already mentioned that I had the time for the rest, so I made the rest, and thankfully we got a complete showcase, and this didn't end up being a solo showcase. So yeah, but making The Thing as my first like full-on custom big fig, this is the biggest amount of paint that I've put on any piece of plastic this year. This was the most clay that I put on any piece of plastic in 2015, so this was definitely one hell of a job, and it is just as time consuming as it looks. So yeah, but making it, like the entire process was just a lot of sculpting randomized rocks. I mean, none of these are meant to look like anything. This is all sculpted, everything on the arms and everything on like the entire body, the legs, like the groin area, all of it. I mean, everything. I mean, the only parts I didn't really add a ton to would be the hands and the head. Those parts I pretty much just painted, but the head, speaking of which, was definitely the most difficult part to get right. Getting the face right and getting the color right were my two #1 priorities going into this, because they were the two that were going to matter the most. The personality of the big fig and then getting the color right. So originally, it looked like, I mean, if I remember to put a picture, maybe I will, but it looked like Clayface from DC, I swear. It looked awful. And then I added that's when I realized, okay, this is a problem, and I pretty much went over the whole thing in bright orange to give it this color that you see here, and then I was satisfied with the color, but then I showed it to my friends and they were like, he needs a nose. And then I was kind of like, yeah, probably. So I sculpted a nose on, and man, this would have looked ridiculous without it. And I posted on Twitter before I made it if you guys would be cool with it. And a lot of you seemed like if it serviced the figure, then do it. So I did. And while yes, I know Lego doesn't usually do noses, they've done it a few times for like Ninja Turtles and a few other things. I figured, okay, let's just do it for this one time, and I'll try to avoid it in the future. But it still really does top off the minifigure, and the eyes, the mouth, all of it really turned out awesome. And there's even a little bit of sculpting work like in this area here. It almost looked like a beard when I was originally starting on it, and you can see that photo over on like my Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook and all that. But yeah, so aside from that, once I did all the sculpting and I got the color right, and I was really satisfied with it, with the color and the face, it was just outlining every damn rock to give it the depth that you can see, that you see here. Outlining every rock was absolutely necessary, and every rock is outlined, almost every single one. Yeah, I know it's orange underneath there, but obviously if I were to paint the underside of his feet, it would all come right off. That's why I never do that for any figure I make. But yeah, every rock is fully outlined, and that was definitely a chore, honestly, because it was just so repetitive, and I honestly, I was just trying to like outline a rock a minute, and yeah, repetition is not something I like, and that's one of the many reasons I don't sell my minifigures or make duplicates of them, because repetition is just awful. And you know, repeating the process of painting, you know, outlines around rocks, that was not fun, but still necessary for the overall final product of this big fig. And now I have to talk about what I used as a base for the thing. And now this is something I don't take pride in, but I used a decool thing as a base, and I have an extra one because I ordered two a few months back. In case I screwed up one, I would have another, but I'm just using it for comparison now to see what this started as. And I take zero pride in using one of Decool's quote-unquote products from their eBay or whatever. There are so many, I don't even know if they even have like a central hub. I don't care, because these guys are thieves. they make profit off of my friends' designs, Eclipse Graphics, X39 Customs, so many other people whose designs they'll steal, and they're just a knockoff company in general, which isn't cool to begin with. But the fact that they make profit off of my friends' work and my friends' designs, it really sickens me, because like, especially Victor, Eclipse Graphics, who makes what who does what he does in the LEGO community as a living. Seeing people like D-Cool steal his designs and then make cheap knockoffs of them and then sell them for profit, it is so sickening to me. And that's why it wasn't a decision that I made lightly, you know, ordering a couple of their big figs from one of their cheap ass sellers in Hong Kong for like $4 each to use as a base for this big fig. So I don't, I know I ordered one and I used it, but I don't want you to. Don't go on eBay and buy their crap, because it's crap. It's not, I mean, as a base, it worked. But if you can avoid them, and you absolutely 100% should do it, because I don't want to promote D-Cool in any way. They're a bunch of pricks, pardon my French. And it's just, I don't want to encourage you to go buy their crap or promote them in any way. So I just want to make that 100% clear. This was hopefully a one-time deal, and I don't plan on making any other big figs that look quite like this in the future. So hopefully I won't have to use their quote-unquote, again, products in the future. And I mean, I could have taken a dark side big fig and like made it look really awful by like shaving off the entire like chin guard or whatever he has, the helmet, and that would have looked really strange. I could have taken a Gorilla Grodd and like shaved off all like the hair and whatever else the LEGO Group has molded onto that design. That would have looked strange. And so then I could have taken a Hulk and tore off the hair piece, but then that would have looked really weird, because I would have had to have resculpted the entire top half of his head, and then you'd have like a really odd looking scalp for him. And I was just like, you know what? I'll just take a D-Cool big fig, and regardless of how I feel about them, for the sake of the final product of the thing, my version of it from Fant4stick, I would do it. And so I don't want you to. I did it for this one instance, and I do not plan on doing it again. Just want to make that clear, because I know some of you guys may get pissed off about me using it. So yeah, you might notice I did actually get a new base, by the way, for big figs. This is much better than the tiny one that I was still using back for the Age of Ultron showcase. I was using a minifigure stand for a big fig, and thankfully it's not the case this time around, if you haven't noticed. But yeah, aside from that though, guys, that is it for my first full-on custom big fig. And the thing turned out to be probably one of my favorite things that I've made in 2015. So aside from that, that wraps up pretty much this entire showcase video. And now we're going to go ahead and conclude this video. Excuse me. Hey, we just had a quick question. Nope. But you didn't even... Nope. Well, could you just... Guys, it's over. Just go back to your positive zone, or whatever the hell it is. Okay, and there you go. The Fant4stick. They are a thing. I made them, and you just saw me talk about them. And if you enjoyed me talking about them, or maybe found yourself inspired for whatever reason to make your own Fantastic Four, be sure to let me know by dropping this video a like below, and or your opinion on all 4 minifigures down in the comments, especially the Thing, given that he is my first actual custom big fig. And yeah, you can also follow me on Twitter, Bookface, and Instagram, because there I post all kinds of super cool behind the scenes photos. Well, not really behind the scenes photos, but more so just preview photos of minifigures that I'm working on, and things that are happening that won't make it to my channel for a little bit, such as the Fantastic Four, which I actually posted like a few days ago, maybe almost a week ago now, way before you even saw them on here. And usually it's even earlier than that I post minifigures. As a matter of fact, I even have my own Force Awakens preview up already about the minifigures that I won't be showcasing on here until freaking December. So I mean, it's definitely worth checking out, man. But yeah, so Fantastic Four. That was an unfortunate situation, because it was such a great cast, and then Fox just blew it. They got Josh Trank, who made Chronicle, and that was amazing. And then you got Simon Kinberg, who wrote X-Men Days of Future Past. He did amazing with that. And then you put them all together, and they somehow ruined it. How? apparently a lot of drama on set. I mean, there was apparently almost a fist fight between Miles Teller and Josh Trank. I mean, apparently Josh Trank never wanted Kate Mara cast as Sue Storm in the first place, and the movie didn't have a second act, really. I mean, the CGI at one point was awful with Reed Richards. There were so many problems with the movie, and I mean, while I wasn't really completely 100% disappointed, because I really did actually enjoy The Thing, and you know, Michael B. Jordan as Johnny Storm, I was like, you know, the rest was just like, guys, what happened? I mean, it was a shame more than anything. I wasn't angry or upset about it. I was just disappointed in all of them that they couldn't work together to bring the Fantastic Four back and make it a really good franchise. But because they obviously didn't work together, you know, the movie crashed and burned, and they're going to lose like $200 or $300 million. And you're telling me Fox is saying that they're going to move forward with a sequel? No, they're not. That's not going to happen, especially if it lost as much money as it apparently did. And it's obviously losing a ton of money. It's like, it was a real unfortunate mess and a train wreck of a movie. I mean, I got some enjoyment out of it, definitely. I know a lot of you didn't, and but that's why I wanted to make these figures anyway, because I thought the movie was semi-okay, and I thought that was, you know, enough for me to make these minifigures in the extra time that I've had in between Brick Fair and Force Friday. So, yeah, other than that, though, guys, that is it for this showcase video. Thank you for sticking around, and I will catch you in my next video, which will be the review on The Force Awakens Millennium Falcon. And yeah, so I'll see you guys on the Star Wars Episode 7 side. Bye!
Hello?
Sorry about that. What can I get for you?
Can I just get an extra crispy 8-piece with no sides and nothing to drink?
Anything else for you?
Nope. What is this? This is not a piece of chicken.
How long until he's in?
2 minutes.
Jeff, and today I'm gonna be doing my shit.
My son, Johnny, he can build anything.
Didn't the car you built, like, just explode?
Yeah, you're not going near our teleporter. Probably getting never, damn it. There was actually a painted, maybe I should actually go get that head so I can show you. It's so Reed Rich, shit.